Hi guys, I hope you all are doing well. So today's video, as you can kind of see from the title, is I kind of have a little bit of a rant to go on, and don't mind just my hair. I just took a shower. You know, mom life, you gotta do it when you can. And even more mom life, it's a massive load of laundry I haven't done yet today, but that's okay. So recently there was a few articles running around saying that, and this was the title of it, and this one really first made me laugh and then made me really upset. Was that the title was, this woman, it was called this feminist, I forget what her name was, but it was a feminist who said stay-at-home moms are unambitious and selfish. And when I first read it, like, it made me laugh pretty hard. And then I went in to read the article because obviously it caught my attention because I was like, I am a stay-at-home mom. And I do not find myself to be lazy or unambitious. This is a choice we've made for our family. So I read the article and it was just ridiculous. First off, it was all over a tweet that some guy had wrote about his wife wanting to stay home. And like, you don't know the background behind it, but he was calling her selfish for wanting to do this. And it's like, you don't know like the dynamics of their relationship. You don't know what's going on. You don't know their financial situation. I mean, you don't know anything. It's just a tweet. And it was probably him just being upset that day, and maybe he doesn't want her to stay home or whatever. But it really got to me because I was like, how on earth is being a stay-at-home mom lazy? Do you know what goes into the day? Like, I am busy all day long. Yesterday, I dealt with the doctor's office and pharmacies for over 5 hours trying to fix a prescription that got recalled for Jeffrey. So it was one of those days, like, you're trying to figure out what to do next. Nobody has it. We're trying to find a place that has it. It's chaos. So I was on the phone all day in the midst of homeschooling kids, therapies, like, just trying to do the day-to-day life. I mean, it was chaos. And I'm like, it really got me thinking, like, how can these people be unambitious and lazy? So or selfish, I should say. The more I thought of it, it was, and after I read the article, I called Ed because I was like, I have to tell him. And he was laughing so hard. He goes, I would never want to be a stay-at-home parent. He goes, I love my children. He's like, if you made way more than I did, then this would be a totally different concept. And we wouldn't even be having the question. I would suck it up and do it, or we would do something. There I was being called for no reason. So when you hear mom out of the corner of your, from the other room. So one thing is, we've talked about this. This is how Ed and I decided I was going to stay home. This was like a conscious decision. Like, it was before we had kids. It was before we even seriously were dating. I think this was like our third or fourth date. We had the conversation of, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom someday. I knew it probably wasn't realistic. And he wanted his significant other to stay home and take care of the kids. That was what he wanted. It was, the way I'm rooting it that way is because we really didn't think we both had the same idea about marriage. Totally different story. I can do that another day. But so we've talked about this, the beginning of our relationship. And then once we got married and had started having kids, at the time that I got pregnant with Jeffrey, Ed was not driving anymore, so he was not making the pay that he does now. And at the time, the insurance was under me because it was actually better insurance and it was cheaper. So when we had Jeffrey, I did have to go back to work. Financially, we needed me to go back to work. I didn't want to, but I did it. And then shortly after, I want to say I was working for about a month after having Jeffrey, and Ed actually heard about a job that was local. It was driving again. He was ready to get back in the truck. He just took a year off to a break from driving. He still worked, but it was just not in the driving industry. So when he went back to work, I want to say a couple weeks after he started his new job, we found out we were pregnant with Robert. So I worked through my whole pregnancy with Robert. I think I stopped working. It was a month before my due date. And then I had decided I was not going to go back after Robert. We knew I was going to need a break. It was going to be a lot of work having two kids that were only 10 and a half months apart. So I was not going back to work. My job convinced me to just step down from my position and stay on per diem. So I did go back to work, and I worked I think I took 4 months off, went back. And the only reason I went back was to cover someone's maternity leave, who then decided not to come back to work. So I was offered the position. We decided to stay on for a year because we were moving. The goal was when we were moving down here, I was not going to work anymore because of the cost of living. Ed would be paid the same. So I sucked it up for another year. So when we moved down here 5.5 years ago was when I stopped working. I think I actually stopped working like 2 weeks before we moved, just so that I could button up things and all that. So it's been 5.5 years I have not worked. Now, I would say the first 2 years were really tough because it was difficult for me to, one, financially not be contributing, and two, to feel kind of out of control. I felt financially out of control because it wasn't my money, but it was my money. It's a weird concept. But anyways, once we got past that, and even during that time, like, I still did everything else. I took care of the kids. I took care of the house. I took care of the bills. Like, I do everything. So to say that that stay-at-home moms are, lazy and unambitious, that's not the thing. I have worked a tiny bit, not outside of the home. Like, I did sell Norwex and I sold Beachbody for a little bit. That wasn't for me. And I still wasn't making like thousands of dollars. So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't financially worth it. And Ed's job has been fantastic. Excuse me. Hold on. Allergies have been horrible today. So, anyways, so I just have not gone back to work. And I haven't needed to. We have not needed me to go back to work. With them, we had another baby. And, so it is, for me, staying home has been wonderful. If you have looked into the price of childcare, it's expensive. I couldn't imagine going back to work. I would be paying just for daycare and probably not even making that much more, if enough, to cover daycare for all 3 kids. And then after last year, when we all know what happened around this time last year, I couldn't imagine if we were both, we talked about this and we're like, if we had both been where we were in Massachusetts, where we were surviving on both of our incomes. Like, we could not have survived on one income, and this had happened, like, I would have had to stop working to stay home with the kids. Yet financially, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So I don't know how some people have done it. And I've had so much more of a I don't want to say a burden, but I've had more work to do with the kids being home, because now I'm homeschooling and we're doing that, which is fine. And I love it. And I've always wanted to do it. But to say that stay-at-home moms are selfish and unambitious is kind of, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah, it was funny at first, but then the more I thought about it, it was like, it's really not, because you clearly don't know what goes in to staying home all day long. It is not sitting on your butt and just relaxing on the couch watching whatever you want, or doing nothing, going to get your nails done. That's not the case. At least not in my situation. Like, I'm go all day. When I sit on the couch at the end of the day, I can't get up for a while. There are very few times that during the day I sit on the couch. Oh, excuse me. I do sit down when we do schoolwork, but I'm not even sitting that much, and that's at the kitchen table. I sit down to eat. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, I am go, whether it's laundry, schoolwork, cleaning, like that kind of stuff, taking care of the kids. Like, I really don't have time to rest. And if I am sitting on the couch for a long period of time, it's either because I don't feel good. One of the kids needs me to. Yesterday, Mia wasn't feeling good, so I had to cuddle on the couch with her. But then that meant I was getting nothing else done, because now I'm sitting on the couch with her for an hour watching a movie when I could be doing other things. So to say that, you clearly just don't know what goes into running a house, taking care of kids all day. There is so much. I do look back to when I did not have kids, and when I worked not a lot, or if I had a slow week because I was a nanny. So if they were on vacation or their kids were sick and I didn't go over and I was home for a long period of time, oh my gosh, I got bored, because I could do all my cleaning in an hour, and then it's okay, now what? You've gone grocery shopping, you've done that. That's not the case now. It takes me a lot longer to do everything. There's so much more going on. Somebody constantly needs a snack, needs a drink, change a diaper, do this, do that. It's constantly go all day long. And though today is a day where we don't have to leave the house, then you've got kids, you've got appointments, you've got therapies if you've got a child who has, some needs. There's so many other things that go into it, running errands, taking care of bills. There's so much to do that I don't know how people just sit around all day and do nothing. And for me, I don't know how that how stay-at-home parents can just do nothing. I know it happens, and I know there's people who do it. I just don't, that's not me. And maybe that's why it hit me so hard, because I'm like, I wish I could just sit around for a while and not do anything. I wish I could just, sit and watch a movie of whatever I felt like and not a cartoon. Because let's face it, when you have little kids, that's what you're watching all day long. But anyways, this is kind of my rant. I felt like this article was kind of, yes, it was funny at first. But then the more I thought of it, it felt personal, even though I knew it wasn't. And I know that this person clearly has no idea what it takes to run a house. But then there was another thing that happened. I think it was a day or two after I saw this article. It was how if you cook for your spouse or cook for your husband, it was specifically because it was saying, if you cook for your husband, you are less of a woman. And I was like, what? So of course it was another one. I'm like, I got to read this. How is making my husband, I think it was making your husband a sandwich was making me less of a woman. And so I was like, I had to read it. And making food for your husband, cleaning up for your husband, doing stuff for your husband, running errands for him, that makes you less of a woman. And I'm like, well, I'm really sure that's kind of why we were created. If you look back, and it just, it really rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, okay. And so I was reading the comments underneath and they're like, okay, so if you're making dinner for yourself and your kids, you can't make enough for your husband? That makes you less of a woman if you make enough for your husband. And I'm like, there's times I'll be up and be like, oh, I'm grabbing myself a snack. Do you want something? It'll be the same thing. So you're saying that if I'm trying to give my husband food, okay, we're having breakfast, we're having lunch. I can only make it for myself. I can't make it for him. He's going to make his himself, even though I'm already making it. It really was I don't get it. I could see if okay, you both work. We have been in this situation. Ed and I did work for a while together. And even before we had kids, it was, okay, I get home early this night. I'll make dinner those nights. You do this night, weekends, we trade it off, or we would cook together because we were both home. So, I could see if you were both working and maybe, okay, one of the partners is taking advantage of the other one. I get that, but I stay home, I cook dinner. What's the big deal? If I'm cooking for myself and I'm cooking for the kids, why can't I make enough for my husband? Why would I have to make less? So that when he gets home, he now has to make something? It's one thing to have to heat it up or something, but literally make himself a meal, even though I already cooked. It's one thing if okay, we didn't have enough leftovers or something, that was my bad, or it was left overnight, I probably still would make him something because that's just who I am. I was brought up that way. But the fact that it made me less of a woman for making my husband dinner, even though I'm already making myself dinner, that just rubbed me the wrong way too. I'm like, how is it that I really feel it's just getting so out of control? You do anything for your significant other and it's wrong. I'm sorry. My husband works really hard. He works a ton of hours a week. The least I could do is have dinner for him. And, if he's got, needs something at the store, I pick it up for him or take care of the kids. He is working so he can support all of us here. He's working so that I can stay home. Hi, baby girl. Why is your shirt wet? It's water. See, I've been gone for 10 minutes and this is what happens. Did you spill your water? Can we not? Did you spill your water? Take your shirt off so we can change your shirt. Yep, more laundry. That's only the second outfit change of the day. Hence why I have this massive load of laundry I need to do. But it was just so funny because I'm like, how is, what happened? Come here. I'm like, how is any of this being less of a woman? You look back at this point it would be I think it was the 1950s. So it would be, do the math, 70 years now. I gotta remember what year we're in. I still think it's funny, if they're checking your ID for alcohol, it's oh, it's okay. I can see the one in front of you, the year you were born. It's I don't like that. But anyways, 70 years ago, women stayed home. You didn't work. If you did work, it was because you either, you didn't have kids or something. You didn't have kids or something like that. Or, maybe your kids were older. But it really wasn't you had little kids and you worked. That just wasn't really a thing. So to me, okay, so because we're kind of back, doing it old school, I guess. Like, it makes me less of a woman now, even though I feel really privileged that I'm able to stay home. I know a lot of women cannot stay home, and it's been awesome for us, but it really rubbed me the wrong way, and I was really angry, and I'm like, hey, quiet down, please, no screeching. So yeah, I just needed to rant. It really rubbed me the wrong way. I couldn't take it. And yeah, if any of you feel the same way, please put it in the comments below, because I'd love to hear your opinion. Like, being a stay-at-home mom, like, I do not feel selfish, and I do not feel unambitious. There are days where maybe I'm not as productive as other days, and that could be for a bunch of reasons. But to say I am like selfish to stay home, no, not so much. So I hope you guys are all doing well. Leave your comments below, and I'll see you in our next video.